So I'm watching Ad Astra, and I'm thinking, Brad Pitt usually eats stuff in movies, but he eats nothing in this. He's so skinny. I have to get him a chocolate chip cookie. That reminds me, I need a chocolate chip cookie. Maybe white chocolate macadamia. What's up, guys, and welcome to Movie Important's movie review of Ad Astra, the newest film from director James Gray, and it stars Brad Pitt, Donald Sutherland, Tommy Lee Jones, Ruth Negga, and Liv Tyler. So, to define what Ad Astra is as a movie, the term Ad Astra means to the stars, to look past, to find what's beyond our scope of thinking, our scope of logic. What is out there that we can discover? Is there life out there? Is there, what is beyond what our imagination can see? And that's what this movie is trying to do. And so Tommy Lee Jones, who plays Brad Pitt's father, goes on this exploration of a thing called the Lima Project. The Lima Project is basically a science project to find out if there's actual life in the universe. Well, as things happen in these types of movies, he disappears. Everything goes chaos, and it leaves Brad Pitt homeless by himself with no father. Well, Brad Pitt grows up. He becomes a space explorer. He is dealing with this antenna that goes from the ground up. It's like a space elevator, but it's an antenna to kind of reach out beyond our capabilities of what satellites and stuff can do right now. And in the process of everything that happens, the space antenna almost breaks apart. We get this sign or this ray of destruction. Basically, it's a solar ray or a radiation ray that attacks Earth from Neptune. And what they find out is, of course, the Lima Project is involved with this, so it leads to a possibility that Tommy Lee Jones's character is alive. So what do, the government sends Brad Pitt to go after his father. And that's the basic storyline. It's Brad Pitt trying to come to terms that his father might be alive, and what does he have to do to bring him back. And it leads into some really existential crisis issues with Brad Pitt's character, who is kind of dead inside. He doesn't really have a motivation for anything. He's married. He was married at one point to Liv Tyler's character, and he just doesn't feel, he doesn't have any emotion. Every time he talks, every time something happens, his blood pressure or his heart rate doesn't rise. And it's just how he kind of explores himself and how he becomes more emotional, more reactive as he gets closer to trying to find his father. And he, visits other places. He visits Mars and he visits the moon. And it's an interesting story because it shows how realistic space travel can be. This is a movie that takes the idea of what we are going towards, which is, people going to Mars, people going to the moon, colonizing it, and going beyond the solar system that we live in to try and find what is out there. And that's a very interesting dynamic subject. It can get into a lot of interesting areas. It can get a lot into deep material. But the problem is, does it work? And yes and no in this movie. This movie is not going to be for everyone. It's a very deep, existential movie. It has a lot to say. There's not a lot of action. The action that's in there is kind of interesting, but it's dealing with a lot of emotional anguish, emotional material that has to affect Brad Pitt's character, who, like I said, is just very emotionless. And also the really cool thing about it is, because of the space exploration is realistic, we get the idea of what happens when you colonize Mars or the moon. If you've seen Fight Club, you know exactly where I'm going with this, which is another Brad Pitt movie. Edward Norton talks about how the moon will be colonized, and you'll see like Planet Starbucks or AT&T satellite, whatever you want to call it. And that's exactly what happens in this movie. The moon is colonized by corporations. So when you land, you see like the Marlboro Man. It's the ship that he flies on is Virgin Atlantic, and it's just, that's what makes the realism possible and what we're seeing in the ideas of like, the ships they're using ships that are very similar to what, Elon Musk is using. And it's a very interesting take. But the movie's problem, the thing that I find most difficult to deal with, is it doesn't know where it wants to go a lot of times. Yes, we are going to a probable end, but it's like, it almost feels like when Brad Pitt is learning how to become more of a human, more of an idea, it just doesn't feel like it's fully fleshed out. The ideas of what he's trying to represent and trying to present to the audience doesn't always feel whole, doesn't always feel there, and it is a problem. It really feels like they were given an idea, that James Gray and the writers were given an idea, and they ran with it, but they didn't know how to function that idea. You know, when Brad Pitt is around people like Ruth Negga and Donald Sutherland, it just, they feel like such simple characters. That's the other problem in this movie with the simpleness is, yes, you have Brad Pitt, yes, you have all these characters, but they're like hardly in the movie. Liv Tyler's barely in this movie. Donald Sutherland's barely in this movie. I think the most character outside of Brad Pitt that gets the most screen time is Tommy Lee Jones, but it's just, you really want to feel like this character, you know, maybe it's because of his emotionless disconnect from everybody. That's why they're not in the movie very much. But it's the idea of what you need out of these characters. It doesn't really drive the plot like I wanted to, and that's a problem. You know, it's a problem I find sometimes with these movies that want to be ambitious, I guess you could say. But with that said, outside of the emotional arc problems and the ideas, Brad Pitt is excellent in this movie. He's probably going to get an Oscar nomination. His subtle nuances, how he plays his character is fantastic. Then another thing about this movie that is going to get a lot of Oscar buzz is from Hoyt van Hoytema, who is the cinematographer of this movie. You know him from doing stuff like Interstellar. He's doing Tenet with Christopher Nolan. The visual look and the visual fidelity of this movie is bonkers how good it is. You know, when you go out into space and you realize how small you are, you realize how big these planets are, you realize how just like vast and deep and dark space really is, how uncomfortable it is. You know, when Brad Pitt's by himself traveling through space, you can really feel like the enclosure, like you're being buried, like you're just like stuck and you're buried and you can't move, and it's really uncomfortable to watch. But it's so mesmerizing, the look and feel, that it almost boisters the movie up from being kind of a monotonous bore. And I really like that about it. I really like that Hoyt van Hoytema actually creates something so unique that it's amazing to watch. You know, the visuals, you know, when they're on the moon and you're seeing them like ride along and fight with these space pirates or whatever. It's really, really fun to watch. And, you know, just how the camera angles look and how they're shot. You know, it's a nice, visually stunning looking movie that's going to get visual buzz and visual Oscars probably. And the music from Max Richter is also really good. So it's a movie that is going to divide a lot of people, but I feel that it has some substance there, some ideas there that just, it works, but it doesn't work on a surface whole level, which is kind of disappointing. Like I said, the story's just not really there. It could have been tighter, but like I said, the visuals just are outstanding. So, but that's it. That's gonna be my take on Ad Astra. It's a movie that's very divisive. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what the audience reacts to it. But there you go. But that'll do it. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below if you've seen Ad Astra. Tell me what you think. Otherwise, hit the subscribe button, the Joy Movie Emporium. Hit the notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next. And comment below on any video that you watch. But otherwise, I'll see you on the next video. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these two videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.